So the big news in this chapter is they meet Jenny. And Jenny's been shipwrecked for 3 years, which means she's made it through at least 2 rainy seasons. Maybe she started just before the rainy season instead of just after the rainy season like they did. But she's made it through at least 2 rainy seasons on her own. She's built her own house. She has all sorts of tools and implements and is obviously well fed and has time to maintain a watch fire every day. So here you have someone who's by herself and managed to do everything that the 6 of them did, except by herself and without gunpowder and without iron. So she didn't have any tools, which means she had to start from first principles. If she wanted to poke something with a sharp stick, she first had to find a stick, get it down to a reasonable size, and sharpen it. Now, sharpening sticks, that's a common thing to do, but and it's not that difficult. You just rub it down on a piece of sharp rock, and it eventually comes to a point. As a little kid, I used to do that all the time with popsicle sticks. I'd take a popsicle stick, I'd rub it down on the sidewalk, and I'd eventually have a little pointy knife. But sharpening a stick. So she would have to sharpen a stick. If she wanted to make something more complicated, if she wanted to cut down a large piece of bamboo, she would have to make her own saw. She would have to make her own knife. And she would have to do this out of sticks and stones. So here you have the Swiss Family Robinson, who are early Steel Age. And they have the stuff, they have steel, they have stuff that comes with steel. They don't really have the ability to make more. If they found iron ore, they could probably put together how to make steel and then make a forge and then whatever. But all the iron, all the steel that they have is what they brought on the ship. And they had a whole bunch of it. And this allowed them to build houses, to build houses, to build fences, to build palisades, to build all sorts of massive things because they had iron, they had steel saws, so they could cut down a huge tree. Here you have Jenny by herself. She doesn't have an iron shovel. She doesn't have any of that stuff, but she still managed to sink large bamboo poles into the ground, which means that either digging by hand or improvising a shovel out of wood, which would take a lot of work to get, you start out with a log, and then you have to split it somehow. You can do that with pointy rock, and you can make a pointy rock by bashing other rocks together to eventually you get a pointy one. And then so you get a wedge-shaped rock, and you can use that to split. And once you split, you can split twice and get you a large flat piece, flat-ish. And then you can use that, you can polish that down with other rocks. And this is a lot of work. There's a reason why going from Stone Age to Bronze Age, or Stone Age to even Copper Age, is this massive, incredible improvement in life. And here she is, essentially stuck in the Stone Age, but she's doing well. And that's she surviving 3 years is far more impressive than anything that the others have done. I just want to come out and say that that's impressive. And she would have died of old age alone had she not been founded. She'll probably die of old age anyway, but she would built a great life for herself, and that's incredible. It's said that they lost Pounce, and Pounce, like Juno, died protecting them. Now, eagles live 50, 60 years, so that's in some ways more of a loss, but dogs are man's best friend, and eagles and dinosaur, but eagles live 50 or 60 years, and Pounce died saving him from a tiger. And you don't find lions and tigers living together. Lions live in Africa, tigers live in Asia, you do not find them living together except in zoos. And you can actually cross lions and tigers, and you can get something called tigons and ligers, depending on which is the male and which is the female. And ligers, because of weird genetics, get stupid huge. So a liger is just like this massive animal. But anyway, so they found a tiger. They fought the tiger. They saved it. They talked about Malay pirates. And those are the same pirates that the Pequod ran from in Moby Dick. So, piracy was a thing all in the ocean. And if you have a bunch of land that's not well settled, that's not well controlled, especially if you have a whole bunch of little islands. If you have a whole bunch of little islands, it's easy for pirates to live, because if they live on one of 50 islands, you can't really search every island. And if the pirates know you're coming, they run. And they just move on to another island and move on to another island. So the Malay pirates were totally a thing back in this time. Now, the cachalot whale is also another name for the sperm whale. So once again, this is Moby Dick. This is the same type of whale that the Pequod was after. And they shot it with guns. I'm uncertain as to how effective shooting a sperm whale would be with a rifle. A sperm whale is a big thing. And if you're to notice, if you remember back to Moby Dick, there were whales that went away with harpoons, multiple harpoons in them, and survived. So, these harpoons are big, long. The harpoons are bigger around than the bullets. So you got to wonder if, shooting a whale twice with rifles would actually kill it. I'm sure it would be injured. I'm sure it would be upset. Now, this book was written in 1812. That was before the Essex sank. So the Essex was a whaling ship, and we talked about this in Moby Dick. The Essex was a whaling ship that a sperm whale turned around, ram, and sank. That inspired Moby Dick and was referenced in Moby Dick. So here you have them afraid that this sperm whale is going to wreck their ship, or is going to wreck their boat, even though, and knowing that they wrecked ships even before the famous wreck of the Essex, which, as I said, inspired Moby Dick. So here we have a bunch of things that just kind of tie back into each other. And they find toucans. And toucans, you probably best know from the box of Fruit Loops. They have these huge, brightly colored bills, bright plumage, South American bird. And the bill looks huge, and you're like, how does it fly with that thing? But the thing is that the bill is mostly hollow. So bill is mostly hollow. It's light. It's like styrofoam light almost. So it's a very light thing, even though it's huge. So it's more of an aerodynamics problem than a problem of lifting it. So they see toucans. They see the tiger. Coco runs off and then comes back because it gets chewed up by the other animals, which kind of goes into Call of the Wild. There was a book by Jack London. Jack London is an author who wrote in the late 1800s in the Klondike Gold Rush era. And all of his books took place in the Klondike, or not all of his books, but a lot of it took place in the Klondike. And Call of the Wild is about a half dog, half wolf that runs off and joins the wolves, the wild wolves. And so it is somewhat a thing, and that they do occasionally run off and join wild packs of wolves, but apparently it didn't work out too well for Coco. And so Coco came back, and they now have Jenny with them, and they are successful in the rainy season. And with a fresh face and extra company, the rainy season wasn't so bad. So, normally they got stir crazy and such, but apparently having Jenny with them kind of eased that off.